Hello out there. We're on the air. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Hump Day. As I do every Wednesday, I'd like to wish you all the best in getting in a hump today on Hump Day. Okay, what the heck? We had a bit of a technical issue this morning. I think everything's worked out, though. I see that the video didn't even go live until about 2 minutes ago, so I'm guessing we'll have some sort of delay here today. Oh, see you later, Arnie. He likes just staying for the start of the show and then he pieces out. He's going through his teenage phase. All right, let me edit this on Zap.stream quickly. And then we'll get to it. For a hump today. That's what the Zaps are for. Guaranteed hump. Send some Zaps, guaranteed hump. I see Letha's over in the Zap.stream. Good morning, Letha. And we got a bit of action over in YouTube as well. I see we got a new Bitcoin journeyman this morning. My man. So we got Silver Fox, we got Django, we got Matt FRL. A couple good familiar faces in the chat. Good to see you. And thank you, Silver Fox, for the monthly support. Very, very, very much appreciated. The new members are actually going to be in for a bit of a treat. We're switching things up here on the show. I like to switch things up. Got to keep things fresh. So for the what am I looking for? The foreseeable future. We're actually going to stop doing the Friday Q&As, which is unfortunate. I think we did 27 weeks of them. So I just figured time to shake things up a little bit. We're actually going to start doing them on Wednesdays. They're going to be for the Bitcoin journeyman. They're going to be for the Living the Future crew. So a little bit private. I think it'll be a really good chance. A lot less noise. Hopefully we can talk through a few things that people are having issues with or wanting to learn more about, or just dive a little bit further into certain topics that we don't really need to be discussing here on YouTube. So that's what we're going to do, I think. And from today, we're going to do the first one today for all Bitcoin journeymen and Living the Future tier. And we're going to do it every week for 2024. I just think that there's a lot coming, a lot going on, and a lot we need to figure out in the next couple months. So that's the plan. Unfortunately, maybe we'll bring back the Q&A 2025. That's weird to say, but that's what we're going with. And if you don't like it, TFB, as you'd say, TFB. Muslim Bitcoiner says, Assalam, my boy Nasir telling my magic internet money ain't a hedge against melting assets. I saw that. I was going to talk about it on the show. But then I had a little self-realization that every time I bring up a clip from CNBC, Fox News, whoever it is, I get way too fired up. And I'm giving them too much attention and too much respect with things. Even if I have an argument against it, I just don't think we need to be paying these people any attention. That's one thing I've tried to do a lot more of in the last 6 months, I would say, compared to my last couple years, is just ignore it. The only thing that gives these people this illusionary power is our attention. We give attention to them. Companies pay to sponsor their show. And they continue going. They continue spreading bullshit day in and day out. So I'm sure I'll bring more clips to the show. I just didn't want to do it today. I wasn't in the mood. I'm on tilt today, some might say. Oh, what's Arnie here? Something's going on. We got Timber Crasher in the house. Good morning. What the hell is Arnie doing? Hopefully we're not getting broken into. That'd be a wild start to the show. It's actually one of my fears is that something. Oh, I just realized, look how poor I am. This is how bad Bitcoin's doing right now. I can't even find a hoodie that has holes in it. Look at that. This whole thing came undone. So the string doesn't even go in the hoodie anymore. We'll just put it through there to make it look like it is. There we go. I don't know how that looks. I don't really care either. Anyways, Rick, good morning. Everyone smashed the like hit. Good question. Have you? And if no, why not? All right. Arnie's still going crazy. We're going to start the show, though. Oh, my hair's still wet. I got wet hair. It was cold here this morning, too. Coldest morning of the summer, I think. But we got some sunshine. It's going to be a great day today. Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? You're in Bitcoin. You're here. Hopefully you got some coffee. And hopefully, if all goes as planned, you get a hump in today. All right. Silver Fox also over in the Zapdos stream. Gotta love that. The newest Bitcoin journeyman also coming in on Zapdos stream. And we got Letha who zapped 121 sats for hump day. Should give a shout out to a couple people here. Big one yesterday. And I won't say who it is because I don't really like doxing people if they don't intentionally put it out there. So somebody sent in 20,000 sats yesterday as a thank you. And keep in mind, they are also living in the future member. So there's no shortage of support from that guy or girl. But I just want to say thank you very much for the sats. 20,000 sats. That's, I think, a new record for the show. And also I saw that Letha zapped 2,000 sats to Arnie's fund, which is the QR code up on the screen there. If you feel like giving to the long-term fund of Arnold. Thank you, Letha. And there was about 5 other smaller zaps there to Arnie. So very much appreciated. Any amount. It's going towards his long-term education fund. We're going to send him to school. All right. We got Crypto Shrimp in the house. Good to see. We got Rock and Roll, Lucas, Jason, Deplorable Nerf Herder, and Cold Deck. It's a good name, Cold Deck. One of the things I'm going to do when I'm fabulously wealthy in Bitcoin is I'm going to set up a couple different things outside. I want to get a outdoor shower, maybe a hot tub. I don't know about a hot tub. I feel like people love the idea of a hot tub, but then once you actually get one, I feel like I'd use it though. This is a perfect property for it. And maybe even a cold plunge. We'll see. Maybe I'll start making some funds. A cold plunge fund, hot tub fund, outdoor shower fund. Outdoor shower would be very nice for washing Arnie off because he's a white dog and likes to get dirty. Loves getting dirty. Probably one of his hobbies. If he was in a job interview and they asked him what his hobbies were, he would say getting as dirty as possible. All right. Was there anything else to discuss right off the top? I don't think so. So let's get to some metrics. This is going to be a shorter show today because we're going to move over to the Q&A at some point. But let's check the email. There's a couple news items to report. Send that. All right. Oh, this thing's itchy. I might have to toss the sweater out soon. It's all I had today, though. It's all I had. We don't have it. We don't have the cash to be buying clothes right now. Oh yeah, I wanted to start with this one because this was one I saw yesterday on Twitter, and I think it's worth talking about just to clear the air, maybe for some people. I don't know. It's good just to talk things through. Jason says currently enjoying the Manitoba summer days. Yeah, all 5 of them, all 5 days of summer that we get here. All right, let's bring this up. Actually, let's do the metrics very quickly first, and then we'll carry on with that. So we are currently sitting at block height 855,763. Foundry got the last one, and pool Foundry. So they're raking it in. They're not raking the fees in though. 6 sats per V-byte, pretty low. Some banana head paid 900 sats per V-byte last block. I guess they don't know how the Bitcoin blockchain works. That's one thing I still don't really understand, honestly. If you sit, and maybe somebody in the chat might have some guidance on this, but this is something that puzzles me. When you're going to send Bitcoin, you go to the fees and you see that it's 6 sats per V-byte. 6. And even if you're in a hurry, even if you want your transaction to clear to get into the next block, for sure, do you really think that it's necessary? Another 900 there. Must be something going on. I see this one had a 900 sat fee, this one did, and this one did. So I guess there's different circumstances that come up, but like, why would you pay 900 sats per V-byte when the average is 6, the minimum is 6 to get into a block? I don't really understand that. Unless they're just trying to make sure that the miner doesn't, make sure that their miner includes their transaction. I don't know. Because if you're a miner and you see a transaction where they're willing to pay 900 sats per V-byte, you're probably going to put it in the block, especially at these fees. Oh, Foundry got another one. Way to go, Foundry. Like this block, Foundry only made 1.3 million sats for a total of, 13 million sats. Man, $7,000. So yeah, I'm not really sure on that one, to be honest with you. I wonder if you can see who paid the Fedi there. We don't need to look at it right now. That's something that Jor does on his own time. All right, just going through a few chats here. Crypto Shrimp says, a reminder to those who think Bitcoin is only an investment. I'd argue that with the recent Japanese carry trade debacle that most Bitcoiners now educated on what it is. Bitcoin is a great educator. Very well said. I think that honestly, that's probably the most, sorry, I'm just going to refresh the Zap stream here. Sometimes things don't pull through. But I think that that's honestly one of the most underappreciated parts of Bitcoin. Because we all know how many hours we put into Bitcoin. We all know how enjoyable it is. You could listen to 10 different people on YouTube and they're all kind of talking about different things. Because the Bitcoin rabbit hole is very, very deep. And there's lots of different trails through it. You could get into energy, the nuclear stuff. You could get into, I mean, when I first got into Bitcoin, I had absolutely zero understanding of energy, none. All I knew is that when I pressed the light switch, I could turn on a light and turn it off. That's it. I had no clue about it. So you get into energy, you get into money, you get into history, you get into economics of things, supply and demand, the Bitcoin blockchain, the fee, how the fee structure works on the Bitcoin layer 1 network. It's all supply and demand. If there's no demand for it, the fees go very low. When there's lots of action on the blockchain, the fees bump up. It's the true free market. So there's economics. What else is there? There's the low time preference thing. In terms of if you want something in life, regardless of what it is, you have to put in the work for it. And anything that doesn't require work, anything that you can bypass that is fake. So the rabbit hole is very deep. So you get into health, you get into food, you get into all the things that the fiat world has brought to us for the last 50 years. I'm out of breath. What the hell? What the heck's going on? You get into the fiat world and once you get to that point where I'm not sure if you're there in your Bitcoin journey yet or not, but you get to a point where you read a headline, you have a conversation with somebody, And they're given different reasons for things, why this happened, what the potential cause of this was, whatever it is. And the only thing that you can think of is fiat caused it. At somewhere along the line here, the why this is a problem is because of fiat. When you give a small group of people the ability to print money, we end up here. When you can create money out of nothing and add more debt to a never-ending debt balance, we end up here. So yes, it is an investment, and I think that people should at least do a bit of homework in terms of like how to store it. But you actually have to want to learn, and once you start going down that path, I think a lot of people's lives change for real. Bitcoin changes everything about you. It doesn't just make you rich, doesn't just give you big dreams and aspirations. It changes every aspect of you and how you look at the world. It changes your lens. And I'm sure most people can relate to that. That was my journey so far, and I'm still going through it. But where were we before I got onto that little mini tangent? So this is from Julian, my least favorite member of the Trailer Park Boys, Julian. I like Julian, but I liked Ricky number 1, Bubbles number 2, Julian number 3. But I honestly love all of them. I don't know if there's any Canadians here or not who are fans of Trailer Park Boys, but so this is a tweet from Julian Figueroa of Kinetic Finance. So this is a quote here that most people, even Bitcoiners, I think, says, "I don't trust Bitcoin because the CIA probably invented it." And we had Tucker Carlson come out last week or 2 weeks ago and say that he would lay down his life for Bitcoin if it was more private. And then he said that the CIA created it. So it says, "I don't trust Bitcoin because the CIA probably invented it," is like saying you don't trust chess because you think the CIA invented it. Who cares if they did? The rules of chess are clearly defined by countless years of consensus and millions of games played. If the CIA wants to attempt an illegal move or break the game of chess, they're welcome to try, and every chess player is welcome to reject their move in accordance to long-set consensus rules. There are no backdoors to chess since all the rules are known. Bitcoin is the same way because it is an open source protocol. So I think that that's important as kind of like an underlying principle here within Bitcoin, is that yes, we do not know who created Bitcoin. It could have been the CIA. But once you get to a level understanding of Bitcoin where it doesn't really matter who created it, if you understand exactly what's happening here and how hard it would be for anybody to derail Bitcoin at this point, then it doesn't really matter who invented it. It's not like somebody can go into Bitcoin tomorrow, change the code, and start issuing coins to all their friends, or change the code to crash the price of Bitcoin. They could change it. I could change it tomorrow or today, right after the show. I could go in and change it. I could create Bitcoin Jor coin. But the issue there, as this tweet says, is that the rules are known. I have access to the code. I can change it if I want to. But the problem is that people have to follow those rules. The thing that gives Bitcoin all of its value is that it does have this consensus. It does have these known rules, and everybody is agreeing to play by these rules. That's why it works. And if somebody wants to change the rules, they can. But not everybody who's following these rules is going to switch rules. That's the whole concept here that people have to remember. And it's important to talk things through like this, because I'm sure that you go through this, or you will go through this, where you're having a conversation with somebody about money and Bitcoin, and something like this comes up and they say, well, I'm pretty sure Tucker Carlson said that the CIA created Bitcoin. So if the CIA created it, there's probably some evil ulterior motive there. And then you just talk through it. And then maybe they understand. And then maybe, instead of the next 10 people they talk to about Bitcoin, instead of looking at it through a negative lens, they actually have a positive spin about it. And the power of that, the exponential power of that, is tremendous. So keep that one in the back of your brain. Bookmark that for later. All right, the second piece of news here. There was a big update from our friends over at Fedi. And I'm not sure if anybody here uses Fedi. I'm a user of eCash. I have the Minibits wallet. Fedi is a little bit different though. The Fedi, from my understanding of it, is it's a bunch of, you can kind of create your own. But Fedi itself is a bunch of different guardians, they call it, who, it's like a giant multi-signature, which is almost impossible for anybody to conspire against. And so they hold this Bitcoin, and then you can basically just send eCash back and forth using blind signatures, which means that they can't see who's sending it and where it's going to, which is big for privacy. Still very early here. Do not be playing with more than like 5,000 sats at a time at this point, but very exciting for the future in terms of the privacy aspect of Bitcoin, which is something that I, before really diving into everything that there is in Bitcoin, was a concern for me. Because, I mean, my initial thoughts here was like, okay, well, if the CIA invented it, we don't know who invented it. Bitcoin, everybody says it's bad. So there must be somewhere hidden in there. There must be a bad motive here. Because I get it. In the current world we live in, the closest thing we have to privacy is cash. Cash. If you want to pay somebody, then you don't want anybody to know about it. You take out some cash, or you earn cash, and you can, there's been circular economies for years, people paying with cash. I won't get into the industries who do it the most, but that's what we had before. And I thought that if they're trying to take us off of that, the best thing to do would be make everything transparent, take away everybody's privacy. And that's what the Bitcoin Layer 1 network is. It's very transparent. So if you want to be private, if you want to send money and value to somebody else, you don't use the Bitcoin Layer 1 network, because it's very transparent. It's great for, the Canadian government. If they were using Bitcoin, we could see where all their inflows are from and where their outflows are going to. We don't have that now. There's no transparency in our governance structure. So that's the benefit of it. But then we're creating things like Fedi Mint here, where you can remain totally private with your transactions, and you can swap in and out of the Lightning Network with this eCash. It's interchangeable using the Lightning Network. So we're going to watch this very short video here. It's 2.5 minutes long, talking about the Fedi Mints. This is definitely something to be paying attention to. If you're a Bitcoiner, this is going to be one of the tools that you use in the future. It's not what we want. Hopefully this works. I'm kind of shortcutting here. So if you can't hear this, let me know right away, okay?
At Fedi, we work hard to provide users access to the most advanced freedom technologies. Getting it right means we're constantly finding, testing, and building with the new tech as it's developed. This is an essential part in making sure you have access to the most up-to-date features, and means the app is always getting better. That's why we build with Bitcoin and the innovative Fedi Mint protocol. Fedi Mint is one of the most robust federated custody systems ever developed. It allows you to have complete, secure control over your money and data with the help of a select group of people you choose to trust. Now, what does that mean? Fedi Mint introduces a new way of doing federated custody. This is where the responsibilities of protecting the money and data for a federation is shared amongst a group of trusted leaders. Remember the Power Ranger robots and how they can collectively create a super robot that protects the community? It's pretty much the same thing. A majority of those trusted leaders, or guardians, as we call them, must agree on how the federation is managed. They're not approving individual transactions, but instead agreeing on the basic rules that safeguard the money and the data inside the federation. The freedom to choose who you trust is an essential part of the federated custody model. Federated or community custody is not new. Since ancient times, people all over the world have relied on community trust systems to manage their finances. Today, this practice goes by many names, like Chama, Tanda, or Hui. With Fediment, we're bringing this time-tested practice into the digital age, and we're building it on Bitcoin, a superior form of money. And we're also giving communities unparalleled levels of privacy using a technology called eCash. First, transactions can't be traced to a single person. This means you don't have to stress about buying a bottle of water and having the shop owner know how much money is in your wallet. Second, no one, not even the guardians, can see an individual user's data or transaction history. Because while you trust your family, friends, and community, you still want to maintain a level of privacy for yourself. And then there's the speed. eCash is fast and cheap, so it's great for use inside federations. But what about transacting between federations or with external parties? That's where Bitcoin's Lightning Network comes in. Lightning transactions settle almost instantly in a digital, orderless currency with low fees. This means payments move effortlessly from your federation wallet to anyone with access to Bitcoin or Lightning. Transactions that used to take weeks, if they were even possible, now take seconds. With Bitcoin, Lightning, and Fediment, we're finally giving disempowered communities across the world a seat at the table.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So I guess just maybe to further elaborate a little bit on what Fedi is. With Lightning and with Fedi, I mean, they both kind of work the same way, because he said there that with eCash, the store owner can't see how much Bitcoin you have afterwards. So that's a problem with the Bitcoin layer 1 network. So if I went to, let's say that the fees were extremely cheap and everybody was using the Bitcoin layer 1 network, and I went to Original Joe's in Brandon and I bought a couple beer, chicken sandwich, and some soup. And so I paid in Bitcoin. And so then my public address that paid for it, they would be able to see that. And the owner of Original Joe's could go back and look at not only my full transaction history, everything I've bought, all the money that's come into that, everything that's went out, but they could also see how much money is left in there. So that's a big problem. And this is something that you need to worry about as a Bitcoiner. I mean, everybody, I think, is still at this point, we're very early in this. We're still in the accumulation phase of Bitcoin, which means that there's not a whole lot of people who are accepting Bitcoin right now. And we're at the point where we're the early adopters of Bitcoin. And so this isn't something that we really have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's very easy to buy Bitcoin and send it to your cold storage wallet and just, it's good there for a while. But there's going to come a time where you're going to want to spend that Bitcoin. And the choices that you make when you're spending that Bitcoin are going to determine your privacy in the future. So this is something that, even though we're not there yet, this is something that you have to be preparing for at this time, in terms of having your cold storage, in terms of having a Phoenix wallet with an open Lightning channel, learning how to do that. In terms of setting up an eCash wallet, you could even set up your own Fediment for your family members. But these are the things that you need to be doing and learning about at this stage right now, because not only are you going to be much better equipped to spend and transfer your Bitcoin when the time comes, but you're going to be able to help people who need it in the future, because these next couple of years are going to be very painful for people who have spent 0 minutes in Bitcoin. And there's going to be a lot of people, your friends, family, coworkers, whoever it is, that are going to be coming to you for advice. And so you have to figure out this yourself for your own selfish reasons. Of course, it's your responsibility here with Bitcoin. You're the bank. So you have to know this stuff. And so with eCash, essentially what's happening there, just like Lightning, what's happening with eCash and Lightning is that you take Bitcoin off the layer 1. That's the transaction. So you pay a fee. You're taking Bitcoin off of layer 1. In this case, they're putting it into a Fediment. So let's say that you have a Fediment with 1 Bitcoin in it. So it goes off layer 1 into your Fediment. And then essentially what happens from there is it's all spendable very easily using eCash. So the problem there is, and the thing that we have to keep an eye out for when you're trusting people within that, is that there's actually Bitcoin held there. And I can foresee a bunch of problems where, there's a Fedi setup and they put Bitcoin in there, and then they slowly start removing it, but people are still sending the balance back and forth that you say that you have. And I'm not sure that there's a way to do that easily. I'm not fully into this whole thing, but I could see that being a problem, is that you're spending money that's not actually there, almost like the banks, almost like a fractional reserve bank, which we have. So it'd be the same kind of thing as that. The bank saying that they have $10 million and people are, lending off of that. That's their deposits. It's the same kind of thing with a Fedi mint. They're taking Bitcoin off the layer 1, and that's what people within the Fedi mint there, and same as a Lightning channel, that's what they're using to send back and forth. And then when that channel closes or the Fedi mint closes, that Bitcoin goes back onto layer 1. But when it's off of layer 1, that's when people can just freely move it back and forth very quickly using eCash or Lightning for very low fees, because it's not actually touching the Bitcoin network. Does that make sense? Matt Turnbull. Yeah, I recognize that profile pic. Finally managed to catch you live. Good to see you. Good to see you. We are live every single morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. What's going on the Zaps? Phoenix Falconer says, follow the fiat. Yeah, that's going back a little bit. I've been missing some chats here, but always, everything that we have, every issue in life stems from one thing: fiat. Okay, I had one more thing to discuss here. I forget what it was. Oh, it was Michael Saylor. Shit. Oh, and there's one more thing here too that I wanted. Two more things. So what do we got for time? 31 minutes. Okay, we're good. Let me just send this to myself quickly. I didn't include it in the original email. All right. So this is from somebody on NOSTR yesterday. I forget who it was. I wish I would have written down their name. But I thought this was pretty interesting because I always talk about the funds, like the Bitcoin funds, in terms of, instead of paying into your life insurance, instead of paying into your health insurance, instead of putting money into a savings account, car insurance even, this is something that came up the other day. Bridge was talking about adding a $25 per month policy for wildlife on her car insurance. And I said, instead of paying into that, because you might never use that. You might never use that. You might never hit an animal. You might be paying $25 every month, and that will never be used by anybody other than for the insurance companies to pay themselves dividends. So instead, why don't you just send $25 a month, buy some Bitcoin, and send it into a wallet and use that as your fund? If you hit a deer, if a semi drives by and cracks your windshield, you just pull from that. And over time, if you go accident free for like 5 years, you're pretty much going to be able to buy a new car with that, never mind just a new windshield. So I've been talking about these funds within Bitcoin, and somebody said on NOSTR, this was their idea here. I want to share it because it's pretty good. So it says, there's a quote. Oh, this is from Aaron on NOSTR. And I think Aaron's been in the chat a couple days here lately. But it says, if you can't buy twice, you can't afford it. If you apply that to a Bitcoin standard and put away a lump sum worth of something and tag it, kind of what I've been talking about, it's astonishing. I didn't understand what that really meant when I did it. But just assume that I will use a car for 5 years. And then the next part of the lump sum to get the next car. So you have enough to buy a car within Bitcoin. You buy the car, and then in 5 years from now, the other part of that fund, you can buy another car, and and then you sell the car, you put it back into a fund, and it says drive it for another 5 years, and so on. If I don't go Lambo lifestyle, that lump sum should actually cover all the car purchases I will need to do in my lifetime. So it says, interesting deviation path from Jor's time capsule concept. So I love that. I love that idea. So kind of what that means is that I've been talking about these funds, these time capsule funds. And so that essentially means instead of, you have 1 million sats in a wallet and you get to a point where you can actually buy a car with that, just wait a little bit longer. And then you can buy 2 cars there. And, it really depends on how fast this whole thing plays out. But I love that concept. You might have to wait a little while for it to kick in first. But then, so you have your first car, you buy it, and then you still have 500,000 sats in that wallet. And then you save that for the next time you need a car. And at that point, you should either be able to get a nicer car or whatever that may be. Plus, you're going to have the car to trade in. So moral of the story is he's thinking one step ahead of the whole lump sum and waiting until you have enough purchasing power to buy that item. Make sure you have enough for 2 of them. And then you're pretty much going to have it paid for, whatever that item is, for the rest of your life. Same kind of concept we're using for the Bitcoin golf tour, which is that we're trying to play 4 rounds of golf every year using the 1 million sats. And as time goes on, we're going to be able to, those 4 rounds are going to cost less and less sats. That's the same idea as this. So I wanted to give a shout out to Aaron on NOSTR for that, because I love that. And I think that we're kind of in a society now where people don't really wait until they have anything. They get the bare minimum for everything, whether that's a car, a house. They put the bare minimum in and then they take the rest out on debt. And everybody's just so obsessed with buying things today and taking on debt and worrying about it later. And it's led us here. So something to think about there. What was the other one here? Oh, yeah. So this is from Michael Saylor yesterday. And hold on, share this instead. So this is from Ryan Ryquant on Twitter. He's got laser eyes. I trust him. And this is a quote from Saylor saying, "We're just going to keep generating more Bitcoin per share any way that we possibly can by selling the volatility of the asset class Bitcoin and then sweeping it into the underlying asset MicroStrategy." So listen to this. This whatever Michael Saylor's doing here, I think is going to literally break the whole financial system. So listen to what he has to say here.
Our shareholders want more Bitcoin per share. They think if we get more Bitcoin per share, that's creating shareholder value. That means we're pursuing BTC yield. Whenever we can do a capital markets transaction that's accretive and generates more Bitcoin per share, we'll do it. We have the ability to sell equity into the market at a premium to net asset value. We have the ability to issue convertible bonds. We have the ability to generate operating cash flow. We're just going to keep generating more Bitcoin per share any way we possibly can by selling the volatility of the asset class and then sweeping it into the underlying asset. Our shareholders want more Bitcoin.
Fucking crazy. What he's doing right now is crazy. If you believe that Bitcoin, even if you don't believe Bitcoin is going to be the next reserve asset of the world, global currency, even if you don't believe it's going to get to that point, if you understand supply and demand, if you understand the value of a fixed supply, and you understand that we're moving into a world where everybody is going to want Bitcoin, everybody. And I'm going to keep saying this over and over and over again. People are going to want Bitcoin. Companies are going to want to hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Countries are going to want to hold Bitcoin to subsidize, to pay off their debt. Trump's already talking about it. Paying off their debt, getting rid of income taxes. Countries are going to want Bitcoin. And most importantly, I don't know if you saw this video of the new Tesla robots or not, but they're pretty intuitive and they're only going to get better from here. So you're going to have robots on the internet to help you with things, your AI tasks, and you're going to have robots in real life. And what are they going to want? They're going to want Bitcoin. And you have this company here who's taking Bitcoin and they're taking on debt, convertible debt, they're selling their shares in their company, and they're buying more sats per share. And as that sats per share number goes up, the premium, their value of their share, the value of MicroStrategy goes up. As that sats per share climbs, as the price of Bitcoin climbs, each share becomes more valuable. So they can either sell the shares, they can take on more debt to buy more Bitcoin, which is also increasing the sats per share. And it's going to keep going and going and going until, I don't know, he dies. I'm sure they have a succession plan in place, but I don't know. To me, it's like the number one thing you should be striving to do right now is get as much Bitcoin as possible. That's number one. With any cash you have coming in, any cash you have coming every month, you put that into Bitcoin, you take self-custody of it, and you put it in cold storage. That's number one, best case. But I know that there's a lot of people out there who still have a lot of capital and a percentage of their portfolio in the old traditional system through pension, through TFSA, RSPs, whatever that may be. There's a lot of people who still have a lot of money in that system. And I think that if you have the choice between the S&P, the index, the Apple, or MicroStrategy, even the Bitcoin ETF, I'm going with MicroStrategy because it's a never-ending cycle of value increase that Michael Saylor is generating here. He even said that their company makes money. So the company's making money buying Bitcoin. The company's taking on debt, selling debt. They're going to be buying $2 billion worth of Bitcoin sometime in the next little while. And tomorrow, if you're a shareholder of MicroStrategy, you're going to get 10 shares for your one. Which, if you understand where this whole thing's going and how valuable those shares are going to be in a couple of years from now, that is financial advice. Convert all your assets from the old system, whatever you feel comfortable with, but I would say the majority, into MicroStrategy. Crazy not to. And I was thinking about it last night. I was thinking, like, should I really be giving out financial advice saying that? Because what if somebody sues me? That's the dilemma that everybody online who's talking about financial stuff, that's a dilemma they face. They believe in it, but they're too scared to put their name behind that approval. And so I have no issues with it. I'm telling you that this is financial advice because it's just logical. I think if you're watching the show, you understand the whole premise behind it and why this whole thing's going to play out as it is. It's just logical. But the other part that I was thinking of, this is the beauty of it, is that, okay, so let's say my financial advice is to buy Bitcoin, which it is. Bitcoin goes down, you try to sue me. And if I'm holding the majority of my assets in Bitcoin, if it comes to the point where you're suing me, that means that Bitcoin is way down. So the value of me has also gone down. So you're not going to get a whole lot. You might get a king hat or a king hoodie. But outside of that, I have no issues with saying that this is financial advice because I'm all in myself. And if that asset goes down, then you're not going to get a whole lot by suing me. So that's why I have no issues saying that this is financial advice because it only makes sense. And I think for the most part, humans usually find a way to buy or go the route that makes the most sense. So just to double clarify there, this is financial advice. And with that, sorry, I'm going to catch up on a few comments and then we're going to hit the road. We're going to hit the road to the very first edition of the private Q&A. So while we're answering these questions, this is your chance now. If you got some time today, if you got some burning questions or discussions that you want to talk about in a more private setting, that's where we're going to jump to. So you can either join as a Bitcoin journeyman for $3 a month, or you can join Living in the Future for a little bit more, but you get access to the community there. So I'll give you some time now. If anybody else wants to hop in for the private Q&A today, that's what we're going to be doing. Phoenix Rising says, I'm using high yield dividends to basically put back into Bitcoin. That's a good strategy, honestly. The only thing you got to watch out for there is that those dividends are coming from a company who's still in the fiat world, probably. So there's a chance that those dividends might dry up, and all the capital that you have to earn those dividends is going to evaporate with it. So it's a good strategy. It's very similar to buying a rental house and using all the profits every month to put into Bitcoin. It makes sense, but you have to look at the asset that's actually earning you the dividends or the rent payment. Are those assets fairly valued? Are they overvalued? And is there a chance that they could be taken from you? And if yes, maybe that capital is actually better off just sitting in Bitcoin instead of earning. But I understand the strategy. I like that. Bitcoin Boomer says, biggest issues with Bitcoin: 1, education; 2, complexities of cold storage; 3, taxes; 4, inexpensive, reliable way of borrowing against your Bitcoin. These must be resolved for adoption. I agree with that. So 1, education. That's what the show is for, to hopefully teach more people about not so much Bitcoin, but why Bitcoin makes sense. Complexity of cold storage, that'll get better. I think that every bank, well, not every bank, but the smart banks will start holding Bitcoin for people, and they can essentially own it through the bank. The people who don't want to take on the responsibility of holding their own keys, the banks will be there to do that. 3, taxes. If you understand where things are going here, taxes aren't going to be an issue. That's why you should just be buying as much as you can, putting it into cold storage, and waiting for this whole thing, this whole transition to play out. This is not legal advice. I'll say that because I don't want to get in trouble here for anybody skipping their taxes. But I would just wait it out. Don't volunteer any information that you don't have to at this point, because everything is setting up in a way where there's going to be no tax on tips. There's going to be no tax on Social Security. Trump is referring to Bitcoin as a currency, not an investment, a currency. He said it numerous times. And what does a currency mean? You don't pay tax on it. If you're just flip-flopping back between currency and another currency, there's no capital gains on that. And then an expensive, reliable borrowing against your Bitcoin. That'll come. That'll be also what the banks do. The banks are still in the fiat world, but there will come a day where they realize that system's dying. And the smart banks, there's already a couple who are going down this road, but they're going to be able to hold Bitcoin for you, and they're going to want your Bitcoin. They're going to want you to borrow against your Bitcoin because they want to have as much Bitcoin on deposit as possible. So they're going to make it very enticing for people to borrow against their Bitcoin. It'll come. Mark says the amount of you save in the next 12 months to 4 years will likely dwarf all further savings you will ever make for the rest of your life. I agree with that. Completely agree with that. Zach bought some MicroStrategy. Yeah, that dipped down. I think it was about $2,000 last week, and it got down to like 1,200 this week. So hopefully you had a chance to pick some up. All right. Muslim Bitcoiner says, I'm thinking at what point one share will be close to 1 or half a Bitcoin. It really depends on how many shares they issue. I think that's what we have to keep an eye on. Is I think that they had 17 million shares outstanding, and then after this it'll 10x that. But they're not selling more shares. That's what you have to keep in mind here. If you understand the accounting side of things here, they're not actually issuing more shares. They're just cutting the shares in half or in a tenth. So I'm under this impression as well, because Saylor understands the importance of scarcity. And so I don't think he's just going to issue shares and dilute the shares to buy more Bitcoin. He has too many tools at his disposal to go that route. Taking on debt, earning money through their operations. What else did he say there? Selling shares, not issuing shares, but selling shares. It's brilliant. And I don't know if a MicroStrategy share will be worth 1 Bitcoin one day, but it's going to be the same kind of thing. The main issue there is that somebody else is holding your capital. There's a custodial risk there. that either MicroStrategy gets hacked, they get arrested, everybody from MicroStrategy gets put in jail. Something like that could happen. You're trusting them with your capital. So that's the only downside, I think, with owning MicroStrategy, is that you don't have the custody of your asset like you do with Bitcoin. Here's a great question. We'll lead this into our first ever private Q&A today. This will be the first question we answer. I don't have any stocks. Should one consider buying a few MicroStrategy stocks and also Bitcoin? I haven't thought of buying MicroStrategy. It's tough. This is what I would say on that. Yes, it is definitely worth getting a few MicroStrategy stocks. Simply because if you look at the performance of MicroStrategy, it's outperformed Bitcoin since 2020, since they adopted this strategy, because they have more ability to manipulate, I guess, the old system. And as he's shown, there's a strategy there. There's a plan in place for getting more Bitcoin. And as the Bitcoin on the balance sheet increases without actually issuing more shares, the sats per share goes up. And they just keep driving that number up where there's a premium on it. So I do think that it's definitely worth getting a couple MicroStrategy stocks. However, don't sell your Bitcoin for it. If you have Bitcoin that's gone, you paid tax on, you bought it, you sent it to your cold storage, don't sell that Bitcoin for MicroStrategy shares. That's your number one. That's your number one asset. But any money that you have, maybe for the next couple of months, instead of buying Bitcoin, you buy MicroStrategy, or you sell a couch in your basement for a MicroStrategy stock, or you have money in your pension. I think that's the best way to be doing it, is if you have money in the old system already, that's where you look at MicroStrategy. But Bitcoin in self-custody in cold storage is the apex option there. All right. And Matt says MicroStrategy is the fastest growing share in the world right now, even beating NVIDIA. Yeah, it makes sense. And when things make sense, follow that. Yeah. Rock and Roll says, Timber, if you have a 401k or TFSA, like George says. Yeah, that's the best route, is if you have something in a pension already that's in like a high yield bond, Apple, Microsoft, the top 7 shares there. If you have any money in that system, just convert it to MicroStrategy. It's going to outperform everything, probably including Bitcoin. But the risk there is that somebody else is holding your asset. All right, let's cut this off. So we're going to cut off the Zap stream. We're going to cut off the YouTube. If you feel like joining us for the Q&A today, I don't know how long it's going to go. I got a couple different things I want to talk about, including NOSTR. So if there's no questions right off the hop, we still have some stuff to talk about. We'll probably do it for the next half hour, maybe an hour. We're going to start doing this once a week, every Wednesday, I believe. And we're going to stop doing it on Fridays, the Q&A every week. So I think it's been very valuable to people. I think that we've done 27 episodes of them. And it's time that, if you really want to be part of this whole thing, if you want to further yourself, you have to invest a little bit of time and money. So if you can't, if you're somebody who's in that spot right now, or if you're wanting to improve your skills within Bitcoin, improve your security setup, learn different tools and things you can be doing to earn more Bitcoin, then you have to, take a little bit of responsibility on yourself. So $3 a month, it's not going to break anybody. And I intentionally made it very low for people, but you still have to have a bit of skin in the game, I guess. So you can easily join through the Bitcoin, the 88 Sats channel. Just click join, $3 a month, or go to the Living the Future for a little more bang for your buck. But either way, we're going to continue this conversation over there. Hopefully we'll see you there. And if not, we'll be right back here first thing tomorrow morning. And shout out to Silver Fox, our newest Bitcoin journeyman, also zapped 1,000 sats. So thank you, ×2 today. All right. Thanks once again, everybody. I appreciate you. This is going to be Friday's Q&A in a private setting. So hopefully you'll join us here. And even if you're somebody who doesn't watch this show live every day, if you're listening to this later, you can still join as either a journeyman or a Living in the Future member, and you're going to be able to see the recorded version of it after. So keep that in mind. All right. See you tomorrow.